Hello everyone and welcome. We are Team Flower Power. I'm Madeline King and my colleagues here with me are Brittany Silva, John Nicholson, and Christian Carroll. Today we will be talking about our recommendations for 512 Tortillas for potential restaurant locations here in the Austin area. Our purpose was to match the values and target market for the brand of 512 Tortillas to potential restaurant locations here in the Austin area in order for them to have maximum profit potential. In the order of our presentation today, we'll first be going over the primary research, and my colleague Christian will be doing that. And the secondary research will be done by Brittany Silva. And then I'll be going over the conclusions, and lastly, John will be giving the recommendations for the potential restaurant locations here in Austin. I'll now be handing it off to Christian for the primary research.
Hello, my name is Christian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about our primary research, our data analysis, and data collection. So first, I'm going to be telling you about how we chose the target audience that we selected. We selected this audience after discussing with our main contact at 512 Tortillas. We decided that the St. Edward's faculty, staff, and students would be the best choice to survey the population for our specific needs. It was also chosen because of how accessible the people at St. Edward's are to us, such as distributing our surveys easily and getting those back. So we distributed a total of 371 surveys, so nearly 100 per team member. The total number of faculty, staff, and students is about 5,000, so this put us at a 95% confidence level. We received 0 invalid surveys, meaning we can analyze every survey that we sent out. Slide, please. For a survey to be valid, we decided that every question needed to be answered. So Google Forms, we did our survey through Google Forms, and they displayed all of the responses in chart form, which we then analyzed. In our analyzation, we came across a few main points that seemed most vital in terms of finding the perfect location for 512 Tortillas. These are the necessity for on-site parking, restaurant size, noise level in the restaurant, the effects of bus routes, the dine-in experience, and the restaurant style. Next, I'll be handing it off to my colleague, Brittany.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Christian mentioned, my name is Brittany Silva, and I'll go ahead and cover the secondary research. So through the survey questions, we were able to find data that was most significant and which we believe required further secondary research. So we determined that survey questions with more than 55% of the answer were considered significant. So we were able to conduct our secondary research with business journals, local small business articles, and any other online articles that we found that would pertain to restaurants. So from the primary data, the themes that we went ahead and researched were parking, restaurant size, noise level, bus routes, dining experience, and restaurant style. So primary data revealed that 70% of people consider on-site parking to be a necessity when they are choosing a restaurant location. So we found an article from The Balance that showed that customers tend to choose restaurants if it's more convenient and has accessible parking. We also found an article from The Eatery, which showed how stressful parking in Austin can be, and which I'm sure many of you have experienced, especially here like in the downtown area, and it just sort of highlighted how free and plentiful parking is important. So primary data also showed that customers do not seem to care about the size of the restaurants. So we actually found that the most important factors regarding restaurant size were the proportions of dining space and the amount of square feet per guest. So an article from Total Food Services suggests that the kitchen should account for about 40% of the restaurant, while the other 60% be allocated to dining area for the guest. They also suggested that 10 to 12 square feet per dining space per guest is recommended to have a more enjoyable experience for customers. So primary data also suggested that 88% of the people suggested that they prefer medium noise levels. So we found that many restaurants actually compete to be the loudest. However, we found an article from the Chicago Tribune that showed that noise levels are a big problem for many restaurants because sometimes customers just like to go and conversate without having the distraction. Alright, so next we have bus routes. So primary data show that 84% of the sample tested were not influenced to eat at a restaurant if there was a bus route nearby. So this is true especially here in the Austin area. According to the American Statesman, we found that many people actually drive to most of their destinations, use ride-sharing apps, or actually just walk to wherever they need to get to. And this is the reasons behind this is just because of low gas prices and then convenience. Right. So from the survey, the primary research also showed that 58% of the people enjoy outdoor eating as part of their dining experience. We found an article from the Networld Media Group which showed that most people enjoy outdoor eating because they like the idea of comfort, the scene, or they just enjoy open air dining experience because they believe that it helps make the food taste better and more fresh. So primary data also showed that people prefer dining in over takeout or drive-thru. We found a study from the nation's restaurants news which showed that dine-in traffic has started to increase over the past few years, and this is likely because people are enjoying going out or just spending time with their families. Primary data also revealed that 61% of the sample prefer alcohol being served. So we found an article from Food Newsfeed which showed that millennials believe alcohol creates a more fun dining experience. And we also found that serving alcohol actually increases customer average spending and attracts larger audiences. I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Madeline who will cover the conclusions.
As she said, my name is Madeline King, and I'll be talking to you today about the conclusions we found from our primary and secondary research, and I'll be using visuals to have a better understanding of the results we came to. So the first conclusion we came to was just from our primary research, and we found that the top 3 responses that people prefer to eat at in the Austin area are downtown, South Austin, and the South Congress areas. Next, I'll be talking about the driving distance. From our primary data, we found that 60% of people would not drive more than 10 miles. And so with that, we decided that in relating that to the areas, we should probably have the restaurant locations be 6 to 10 miles away from the downtown area. So the most important restaurant experience aspects that we've just talked about, you can see here, first is outdoor eating, closely followed by alcohol being served. We also asked about the online ordering and whether or not it's pet friendly, but those weren't as important to our survey responders. One of the most essential things that we've concluded from all of our research is how necessary parking is. As you can see from our data, we have about 70% of people who say that parking is a necessity. And from our secondary research, we found that on-site parking is the most preferred, followed by if there's close and easy to access public parking. I don't know if you're aware, but some places have like shared garages, and that's another good opportunity for the right location. And as you can see from this chart, most people are not at all influenced to go to a restaurant if it's close to a bus route. And as for noise level, from our primary research, 80% of people chose that they prefer a restaurant to be medium to quiet noise level, and from our secondary research, we found that many people will not eat at a restaurant that's too noisy, even if the food is good, because the experience is a lot of what they're looking for. And from primary and secondary data, we found that guests typically do not care whatsoever how big the restaurant is, but the most important thing we found through the secondary research was the square footage per guest and the ratio of kitchen to dining space, and it's a good ratio would be 40% of the total building area for the kitchen and 60% for the dining area for the most efficient profit maximization. And the last thing that I'll be talking about is that people prefer the dine-in experience much more than they prefer drive-through or takeout. Many restaurants offer takeout in addition to dine-in, but the most important thing that people look for in a restaurant style is the dine-in option. So now I'll be handing it off to my colleague John Nicholson, and he'll be talking about the recommendations we have.
Hello, I'm John, and I will be talking about our recommendations. The purpose of this report was to at least get you guys, what's out there in the market, and just maybe some general location recommendations, as well as we went ahead and pulled up the top 4 demographic categories that we found from both our primary and secondary research. We found that the most important was location, either downtown, South Austin, or South Congress. Secondarily, distance, you really want to be within 6 to 10 miles to downtown. Especially that statistic was, it was like 75% of people said that was important to them. Additionally, outdoor eating and alcohol being served, kind of melded those into one as far as the restaurant experience goes. Those were definitely 2 of the top demographics we surveyed. And finally, parking was really important. I'd say even above 70% of people said that parking was a necessity. So based on these 4 categories, we went ahead and picked out 4 locations as well, based on your budget of $8,500 a month. The first one, this is my personal favorite. It's actually at the old Prelogs over at the 360 building. Rent is a little high, but I assume that's negotiable. But it did have all of the kitchen equipment, I think, except for the freezer. But it has a great outdoor patio, and it's right downtown, and it has parking. I really like that spot. Our next location, this one was down off 290 in Sunset Valley. I mean, just kind of another option. I mean, really similar monthly rent, but completely different caliber of place. So I mean, I just kind of included that to give you guys another, see a few more things. The third one, this one was off Falcones Drive. Similar square footage. They didn't have a price listed, just it said negotiable, but it had a small patio space, and it was kind of in a strip mall thing, so parking wouldn't be an issue. And then our fourth one, tried to, give you another option of perhaps to purchase rather than rent. Just thought it'd be helpful to include that, just kind of see what's out there. But I really like
Can I
the.
stop you for 1 second?
Sorry.
Where in South Austin?
It didn't say, they didn't have an address. I looked for it. I think they're trying to be sneaky about it or something. I'm not sure. And that's another thing. We were having some trouble finding these listings because most of them were pretty vague, or they just kind of beat around the bush about what exactly was going on. And two of these didn't even have an address or a name, so.
So, I've got a couple questions. Is now
Yeah,
the time?
oh, yeah, so, questions?
So, with regard to the fourth one, I think what I just heard you say is you're not sure where that location is, or fast casual Asian restaurant?
The address is in the report there. It's not on the slides, I believe. Or,
I think they're looking
Oh, no.
like just for
I didn't add.
like when they're looking for like serious offers, I'm sure, like so not just anyone can go and I guess where it is.
Okay, so I'm not clear. There is a fast casual Asian restaurant, it's in South Austin. Where's the address? I mean,
Is it in,
Yeah.
no.
okay.
I meant to add that in
Because
there.
I'm interested
yeah.
to, kind of explore your
We
findings.
can give you a
I do have the information. I went ahead and found the address. It just didn't get put into the report.
Okay.
Because that
Some of
price
the
is
options
good.
we found had contact information for who you reach out to. We can provide you with the sources that we used.
But it seemed like this place was kind of a turnkey kind of deal. Like it said in their ad that they had kind of a manpower shortage, and whatever that means. But it was already an existing restaurant, and they're looking to hand it over.
Do you guys want to do a complete wrap up and then see who else might have questions so you're able to get through your full conclusion?
So, today we covered how we distributed the surveys, how we analyzed our primary and secondary research, and some of our recommendations. While we do recommend these locations, they are only a few examples of what the City of Austin has to offer. Any other questions?
So each of the locations that you chose were based on filling those parameters that were the top four that you mentioned: downtown, SoCo, South Congress, 6 to 10 miles, outdoor, all of that. So every one of those offered that, except the one that you're not 100% sure.
I think it
As
had
far as
a
where it's
urban-
located.
Yeah.
Okay. So at least it gives you an idea of exactly what bill they fit, if you will, and then it just depends on whether or not it's where you want to go once you look at it.
Yeah.
I did find it really interesting, considering this is Austin and people love to ride their bikes, et cetera, that not being able to jump off a bus and go to the restaurant was a big deal to anybody at all in any of the surveys they got responses from. Am I the only one who's surprised by that? Or?
I think people are like shying away from buses now. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the cost. I mean, that was literally surprising to me that that's just not even in part of the consideration. So.
I mean, the bus system in Austin is bad.
Yeah.
Tell us like you mean it, Fiona. Interesting. Any
Another
other questions from you? Yeah.
10 to 12 square feet dining space per guest. Where did that data point come
That was from secondary research. I have a reference.
from? Is that like a industry standard? And the reason I'm asking is we're talking to our architect right
Yeah,
now, and
it
he's
just
talking
came
about
from
numbers.
a couple different websites that just talked about like 10 to 15, depending on what type of restaurant you're thinking of. If you wanted to be more of a sit-down, spacious place, or more of a condensed area.
This particular one came from Total Food Services.
Oh, okay.
Just their suggestion. Their suggestion.
And that was also the ratio of 40-60. Is that pretty
Yeah.
normal anyway for a restaurant, 40-60? That seems like a large kitchen, no?
Well, the other thing you have to take into consideration is flow.
Yeah.
Like a big chunk of our space is flow.
Right.
The line coming in, the, room between the tables and all of those things, they eat up a huge portion of your, of your space, more than you would realize. The other thing we want to do is we want to do a bar in the restaurant, so we're going to have to figure out how to integrate that from a square footage standpoint. But because of your conclusion,
Yeah.
we definitely want to serve alcohol.
Yeah.
It's a big profit.
Those millennials.
Yeah.
Can I ask, did some of what they say mirror what you had heard previously, or?
Yeah, no, it's really good research, and some of it feels and looks pretty familiar.
Okay.
And other areas, really, we haven't, like the bus component is, I never even thought or considered that.
Yeah, yeah.
But interesting data point to think about. So you raised some issues that we didn't even think about, which I think is great.
I think that the importance on parking was good as well. Some of the locations we were looking at are a little tighter on parking. And,
Yeah.
you know, seeing that that's a major driver of where people go.
It's almost like a necessity now.
It is, because if you know you're gonna have to go around the block, or pay an extra $20 or a valet, you stop going to those places, so it is a really good consideration. I'm glad you looked into that.
And the city has a code.
Right.
So you need a parking space for every 100 square feet. So you do 2,500 square feet, you gotta have 25 spaces. It doesn't have to be on site. You could contract with the parking lot 3 blocks away if you wanted.
Right.
The question then would become, are customers going to wanna walk that 3 blocks because it's a hassle? Like we've got one location on South Lamar as an example. Unbelievable location, we love it. 0 parking. And the answer to the question of where we're gonna park is there's a garage 3 blocks on the other side of Lamar, and oh, by the way, there's no light there to cross. So it's like, you know, what are we gonna do, have a golf cart shuttling people to the fast casual restaurant? You know, that kind of thing.
Sounds like the Saxon pub area over there. Any other questions from anybody else? Good job, you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to send a link to the video to you all. Please make sure you forward it on to your clients so they have a physical copy as well, okay? Okay. Next, you guys want to go so that just in case you.
I'm fine. I got plenty of time. I'd rather hear the numbers.
Oh, he wants you to go last. Boy. Look at that look. I don't think she wants you to. I'm good with whatever. I've got to be here for all of them, so you might as well be. Come on, let's go. Figure it out, my friends. You people, get out. Sorry.